All right. And
Hey,
we are back. Technical difficulty be damned, right? Right,
that's
John
right.
Stamp?
How are you
So
doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you could come on. So you and I have known each other for a few years. We did a book
Yep.
signing, Amelia Island, I think was the first time we met. And we were next to each other, or there was I think that strange dude was between us at that one who talked a lot. But
Yeah, the angry man.
yeah. But so obviously you're also a thriller author, and then we ran into each other last year at BoucherCon in
Yeah,
Nashville, which is very cool.
yeah, BoucherCon. I'm looking forward to that this year.
Yeah, me too.
We got some good panels. We got some good panels coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, how many times have you been at BoucherCon?
This will only be number 2.
Oh, for me
So I
too.
did Nashville. Yeah, Nashville was the first one last year, and it was a great experience. So, and it's I think it's that community that the thriller authors just is very supportive community. So you get everybody together, and it doesn't matter if you've never met before. Everybody just gels. I don't know what it is. It's very unique, I think.
That was one of my big takeaways last year was to just sit down in like the main lobby there, and people are just like, "Is this seat taken?" No, sit down. And you're having conversations, and you're having conversations with like a reader who's never written anything, or like all of a sudden here's Harlan Coben wants to sit
Just
down
hanging
next to
out.
you and
Yeah.
hang out,
Yep.
and you sit down next to Harlan Coben, and I talk about the fact that we were both born in Newark, New Jersey. We literally didn't talk writing at all. We just talked about that we were both born in the same city, although he's a few years older than me.
Yeah, yeah, that was it was my thing too. I was sitting around having a cup of coffee last year, and Mark Cameron, of all people, guy writes for Clancy's. Guys, his series are amazing,
Yeah.
and he gives me like 20 minutes just coaching me on how to get going. I was just crazy, just
Yeah.
the generosity of those people is
Yeah.
fantastic.
And I think I think what's great about it is because you don't go to BoucherCon feeling like there's a pecking order.
Hmm.
You don't feel like, oh, you two need to sit in the back of the room, and the high rollers are going to sit up front, and we're going to school all you little kids. Kind of, there's none of that. It's literally everybody there is there for the same reason, for their love of writing, their love of thriller books, and I just had such a good time. I was like, immediately, like halfway through it, I said to my wife, "Yeah, I'm coming back. It's in New Orleans, and we're going." In fact, because she's a huge reader of stuff,
Hmm.
and I was like, "I'm just going to get you a ticket, so you're not missing out on all this stuff." She's a huge Alan Eskins fan, and she's very excited. Alan Eskins is going to be there, so
Get
that's
to meet him. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. My guys they're gonna fly out. I'm gonna drive out, and then my the kids and the wife will drive back. We'll make a road trip out of it. But yeah, it's New Orleans is it's one of those cities that I mean, Nashville's the same way. It's just they got so much character that it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna miss that. And then the community and just everybody feeding off each other to make great art is just
right.
something you
So
can't beat.
I know for me, like when I got back home, I was so re-energized. Like, do you feel that after you've been around our people? Do you go home and like, I'm gonna write 500 books like right now?
I think so, and it's one of those things. Like for me, it's the writing is just one of those things. I get done with grad school, and I'm like, I'm gonna finally write a book, and then I actually did it, and I was like, that was fantastic. I'm just gonna keep going,
Yeah,
and never once considered the business side of this whole thing, which is awful.
yeah,
But when you go to BoucherCon, you get to compare notes with everybody. So for me, it was I'm sitting there writing a business plan, after listening to a couple people who, have gone at it strategically. And so that's what I've been fired up about, is just kind of trying to build that enterprise side of things, strategically
right.
looking at how I'm going to write and what I'm going to do and how to launch and stuff like that. And actually more like get the right people involved, because I have no business genes whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Being creative people, you start writing a book. You're like, I'm going to write a book, and then it's so easy. You write the book and you throw it out there, and you start making millions of dollars, and then
Yeah,
you
that's the
realize
plan.
that the writing is the easy part. The creating is
Yeah.
the easy part. But how do you get one person, let alone a million people, to pick up that book? So did you learn? Did you learn a lot from BoucherCon as far as a year? We're almost a year later. Has your kind of the way you look at the business, how has it changed, and has it changed for the better?
I think so. I think I would say, and I mean, it's a hard sell for me, but I think I'm maturing a little bit. I've kind of, I just got done, and when I started this writing thing, I'm like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm like, I'm going to try a crime thriller. I'm going to write a military thriller. I'm going to do a horror book. I'm going to do a fantasy. Just trying them all out. So I'm kind of ticking off the genres as I go, trying to figure out what I want to do. Like I'm shopping a sci-fi now. I was so afraid of the space opera, I didn't want to do it unless I could get it right to at least ballpark, what I would want to watch. And so I was scared of that for years. And then I just decided last year, I'm just going to knock it out. So and being independent or getting a publisher, making those business decisions. If it was another thriller, like the next time I do a Ty Benhoff book is probably next year. And, I'll probably go independent on that because that's my wheelhouse. Like I can write a cop book, I can write a military thriller, but on the science fiction side, like I'm like, if a problem comes up, I'm like, how does this work? I'm like, I can create a technology to make that happen. I'm like, I need this setting. I'm like, cool, I'm going to make a planet, And so with this one, I'm going to try and link up with an agent and get a publisher so I can have that oversight to make sure that I've got an expert there in the genre to make sure I'm telling the story right as it's supposed to be done. So that's kind of fed my strategy a little bit, just knowing what I can handle and knowing what I can't, and balancing that idea of the control you have as an independent author and the, finding that place in the industry through a publisher, whatever that looks like.
Right. And then it's always for me, it's always that challenge, because I did horror for years. And when I started doing crime thrillers, and I realized it's a much bigger audience. Even though I still write horror short stories, really, I'm like, I'm not going to go back to that, because I'm making a living at it. This is what I do. This is my full-time job. So, do you get to that point in your mind where you start crunching numbers and you're lucky you're writing in different genres, but does it get to that where all of a sudden, oh great, I wrote like this one-off steampunk book, get it out of my system, and now that's my biggest seller, and now I'm a steampunk author. Do you worry about kind of being pigeonholed into a genre?
For me, I don't think so yet, because I'm, like I said, I did not go into this with a business mindset or a strategy. I was just pushing myself to see if I could pull something off. But I have found when you get into that fantasy, horror, sci-fi side, I sometimes feel more free than when I'm doing the thriller side. This last one, the last Benhoff book I did, Overmatch, I had a not quite an AI component, because I think that trope is just being beat to death right now. Yeah. But I had some high-tech technology that is right there, which I thought was, you're pushing that line trying to be like, am I science fiction or am I there? Like is the technology there or is it not? And as I'm writing stuff, I'm finding that just on a daily basis, we're getting so close to your just techno thriller being what we would have considered 10 years ago. It's science fiction. It's the technology is evolving so fast and things are happening at such speed that when Israel popped off all of Hamas's pagers, 6 months ago, best intel operation in history. Right. But if you'd have written that in a thriller, they would have been like, anybody who read it would have been like, that is the dumbest thing. Who would even consider that?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. And now if you write it, you're like, oh, we know where you got it from.
Yeah.
Or if you wrote that in 2020 and people are now reading that book, they would have been like, oh, he stole this idea from, because, science fiction was really, really fiction back. H.G. Wells, these guys were thinking up stuff that's 50 or 100 years or more away. And now we're thinking up as quick as John Stamp can think up an idea to do something. There's somebody out there that's building this technology or already has this technology. It's scary because we're not really writing science fiction at this point.
Yeah, it's coming so
writing
fast.
Science fact and throwing some characters into what's really going on, which is kind of scary if you think about it.
It's things are moving so fast. I think we're very lucky to be in the age that we're in, and be able to see all these advancements and all in such high speed. But when it comes to like getting around the edge and giving the audience something that they're just like, oh, it's so cool. It's like, this is so high speed. And you're just like, well, 5 minutes ago, that was high speed. 2 weeks from now, it might as well be the 1940s, because everything's just boom, just flown right past it.
Yeah. So as a writer, how do you deal with technology and things in the non-science fiction stuff? How do you justify things in crime thrillers? Because we just watched a series. I won't name the series, but literally the plot was moved along every 5 minutes by a phone call.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see that all the time. You see, it's just like, here's another phone call with information. Here's more. So how do you look at that as a thriller writer? And it's not just, okay, I'm going to have my character take 20 phone calls in this
just
book.
Make it.
Yeah.
It's when I write, I've had trouble with the like when you look at a book and it stretches over a period of years, right? There's just the way that the writer can keep that plot going and keep it interesting when it might stretch, a decade. Some books are just built that way, to show like an epic. When I write, my brain just goes to an incident. Take these characters, throw them into something that is wildly out of their control, super dangerous, a threat to everything, and see how they figure out how to do it. Right. So when I'm breaking that through, I kind of look at it like a case, and it's like, okay, here's the incident. How do we get from A to Z and all those places in between? So I try to kind of build it, but you're right. There's so many little tools that you can leverage it. Because I mean, if you look at it today, it's like, oh, I just got an email. I just got a tweet. A phone call comes in. I got a text, blows everything open. And you can literally sit there and run it that way. It's,
right. I mean, your main character, the challenge is your main character can literally go, okay, we're trying to find this bad guy. Okay, let me Google and let me find him, and AI is going to find him for me. Okay, and let me make a phone call, and I get a phone call back, and now I've caught this person. And there's your book, and it's a flash fiction piece, because there's no challenge, there's no boots on the ground and going and looking for these people and everything else. And it's it's challenging. When we all first started writing, when I started writing, it's the late 80s. I'm in high school. I'm writing awful stuff, but I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nobody's going to a payphone to call you.
Yeah. And it's funny that there's an interesting parallel, because what we see today, in my day job, everything, the entire world, everybody's world is here. Yeah. So it's tough for us sometimes to get agents when they get a case to see outside of that electronic landscape, because everything that your subject or your victim does is either mapped, tracked, or illustrated via their device. So it's very easy for an agent to be like, give me your phone, and rip the phone and then just dive into it without thinking that they need to leave their desk, without actually getting out and talking to people.
Let me pull up where your car was.
Yeah.
In those hours, and we can track it, and we can ping your phone, and we can off of towers, and we can ping all the cameras. You've driven from point A to point B. Well, there's 47 cameras in the city that gives you street by street. I mean, we watch Investigation Discovery every night. My wife loves that stuff. And every case is almost like the detectives stayed at their desk, and they just follow that trail every time. Or it's a cold case. All right, let's just do a DNA thing, and let's go on Ancestry. And here we figured out the family, and now we go down and we steal their garbage, and we test their DNA. And okay, 30 years ago, when you were a serial killer, you thought, I could kill as many people as I want.
Yeah,
and now,
no idea what DNA is.
Now you're 80 years old and you're going to prison for it, and it's just wild. It's the technology is great for real life, but it really sucks for us as thriller writers, because you got to come up with something different, or you have to have a lot of twists, and you got to do. I always call it like the Jeffrey Deaver. Let me do 47 twists in this short story, and there's no way if you say who the bad guy was at the end of the story, you're a liar.
It's good luck. Yeah. You have to take stuff away from him. You have to take those advantages away. Like, in Blood Red Ivory, I throw Ty into Zimbabwe, and I take away the cell service because it was, as I'm researching it, Zimbabwe's national cell phone infrastructure is actually piped through France. And as I'm doing research for my book, I find an article where Zimbabwe just didn't bother to pay France one day, and so France just pulled the plug, and
Wow.
all cell service is gone. And when I did time in Djibouti, Africa, and it would, stuff like that would happen. Like one day I get up to go to work down at the port, and I get a call from my force protection guy. He's like, "Hey, you might want to be careful because they just didn't pay the jail guards last night, and they just opened the gates, gave everybody their guns, and went home." So everybody at the time that was in jail in Djibouti, Africa, just walked out with AK-47s because the jailers were like, "Well, you didn't pay me this week, I'm leaving." Right? And that kind of stuff that we would never think of here is like, okay, right. So Zimbabwe didn't pay their bill, so France pulled the plug on them. Not a problem. I've seen it,
Yeah.
So that way I can take that away from Ty. I can take that leverage away from him. He can't reach back to, his guy in the chair who's going to pull all those databases and put everything together for him. I just take those comforts away and try to keep it going that way. Right.
Yeah. And I think it's the real life stuff. Obviously you've done a lot of this. So just in the two things you just mentioned, somebody's going to read that stuff in a book and think, "Oh, this guy made this up," or obviously he Googled and he found these obscure facts. When it's reality, it's just part of your normal life that bleeds into your fiction.
It's and you're right. It's like, oh, he just did that to use it as a tool, and it's like, well, it's actually ridiculous, and I've seen it, so it's like, why not put that in there?
Yeah, exactly. So do you use a lot of stuff from your real life when it comes to that, as far as creating characters or scenarios or plots, since you obviously have traveled?
It would be, I was, ever since that gig I did in Africa, I've wanted to go back. There's something about being on that continent that's just wild. It's just a fabulous place. The people are just so interesting. The cultures are so interesting. There's just such an energy there that was like when I did Blood Red Ivory, that was directly from my time in Djibouti, because it was, he was based out of there and got shot out of a cannon just to go figure out what's going on, and with no backup whatsoever. I mean, it would literally, if you're traveling out to places like that, the agency would literally sometimes say, "Well, get out there and then figure out what to do." It's like, there's no phones, no technology, no backup. And they're like, "I just figure it out." And literally we've been told, just get out there, see what's going on, figure it out as you go. I'm like, okay. So that has fed in. And a lot of times the people I've worked with, the fabulous people I've worked with over the last 25 years, I'll snippets of those personalities will make their way into the characters quite a bit. They're just, some of the most funniest, darkest humored, sarcastic people I've ever seen, so they got to be in there just to keep it interesting.
Right. Which is fun. All right. So now we're getting to the end here, because I could talk to you. We could talk for days, which we will do at Bouchergon. Hopefully
Bouchergon. Yep.
Get some time to hang out. Who are some of the influences for you as far as helping you to become the writer you are today?
If we look at like, who was it when I was a kid that I'm reading that it's like, that's what I want to do, it would have had to been Clancy, Crichton, and Joseph Wamba. It's just, Wamba is my Yoda, when it comes to like Choir Boys and Glitter Dome and the Onion Fields. Nowadays, like we were talking about earlier, the community is so tight. That like Mark Cameron, he's given me a lot of good pointers. Steve Stratton, I've talked to quite a bit. Just those guys are so willing to show you everything they do as far as trying to figure this author thing out. That it's just, like I said, the support system's just there. It's very generous community we live in.
So who are some of the authors that you like, but more people need to know about besides yourself, of course?
I would say, Stratton, Steve Stratton's, Bear, is it Shadow Tier? His Shadow series. Steve's fantastic writing, and he's sending special operations against cartels, which everybody could love. Yeah, everybody can get behind shooting those guys up. And then Eric Bishop's got a new book coming out.
Yeah.
Ama Adair, she's knocked out. That origin story was a fabulous novella she put out last year.
Yeah, I read that.
So a lot of those guys that are just really knocking it out of the park. And it's one of those things. It's like you said, I write this book and automatically the millions of dollars should come. But it's Amazon publishes 2,200 books a week. Good luck. Finding that spotlight.
It's not the best books, the best written books are automatically bestsellers, because we've both read a ton of great books by great authors. That it's just the business part of it, for whatever reason, isn't there. And then you've read a lot of big five books that are just horrible phone-in books, and that they're the number one, New York Times bestsellers. Yeah,
it's when the paint by numbers are there because there's an industry behind it and they've got the team. But I would never take it away from an author that puts their heart and soul into something. Right. But there's just there's so many of us out there that just you're just drowned out. It's because of the just volume. So, but anytime you can prop up somebody in the community, I think it's a fabulous way going about it.
Yeah, 100%. And this is one of the reasons that I'm doing these interviews, because it's selfishly for me, I want to learn, and it's also I want to learn about other authors out there that maybe I don't know the names or I've missed, and just the networking, just the fun of. You and I see each other once a year, kind of thing. Where,
right.
We live very close to one another, actually, but we're going to see each other in Nashville, and then we're going to see each other in New Orleans. So
we got to go catch a shrimp game at some point.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, John. Thanks for coming on, though. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. And anytime, I'm more than happy. And once I get my stuff back up and running, I'll have you come join me.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love that. All right, man. Awesome. I will talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, everybody.